Well, as we all should know, Nicolaus Copernicus was a well-accomplished mathematician. He developed mostly and worked very heavily on developing and applying trigonometry, both plane and spherical trigonometry, as well as geometry, in order to enable the creation of a new solar system model. And in particular, the transition from a geocentric to heliocentric view of the universe. He, as you can see in his book on the revolutions, his masterpiece, right, on the revolutions of the celestial spheres, he not only formulated, he also presented proofs of several theorems in spherical trigonometry, as you can see here in the images, and he needed to do that, in fact, to give support to his heliocentric theory. And he created, basically, applied the rigorous mathematical framework in order to support his theory and his model of the solar system. I could give you several key contributions, but I think that's the most important thing, is that what he wanted is to show, in a way, that having an Earth that was moving was not only possible, but as well better, more consistent mathematically than a stable one. In some senses, he managed to move away from the Ptolemaic system that in some sense was complex, was potentially mathematically inconsistent. No, it was actually mathematically consistent, and create a new model that was mathematically consistent, harmonious, unified, to describe the solar system. So a sun-centered universe. So there are many examples, and for me it's really important because my first background is actually pure theoretical mathematics, where what you do is exactly deduction, is proofs and demonstration of theorems. So this is really an activity that was really fundamental for the mathematics at large. Absolutely, I agree. I mean, there's no way I will disagree with that, right? I agree, and I think it's really important to say that from what I've seen, the members of the Academy have been doing a great job at that. A great job of popularizing science, bringing the science to the broader community, not only to the students, early age students, but as well to the senior students. So bridging several generations, which is, I'll say in a minute why I think this is very important. And I think they, and in interviews with the radio, I really think it would be really great to have interviews on TV. Even, for example, when a new result comes about, it will be very interesting to have Academy members participating, just making a comment, basic popularizing, translating these results into something that's understandable by everyone. I think it's very important that scientists give back to the broader community the results they get of their science they do when this broader community produced, in a way, because they are taxpayers that provide the funding for us scientists to work on our field. So it's very important for us to give back. And the other thing I think is very relevant is, as I said earlier, is that it's important to communicate to several generations. And why? I just mentioned earlier that one of the reasons why I was interested in not only that, but part of the process, interest in astronomy, was because my mother would see a program in astronomy and would come and discuss with us, the kids, about this and what did you understand, or what is that. So all of this is a very natural process, very dialectic and dynamic, of bringing families together, discussing science, and understanding how important science is for our lives, right? So it's basically telling us that I'm contributing as a taxpayer to going beyond what I thought was possible, to reaching dreams that we thought was impossible, right, to achieve. And just going beyond what's possible is a dream of everyone. It's just not a dream of a scientist, it's a dream of everyone. And I think that bringing this population together and working together and developing science as it should be, because it's really important for evolution and of everyone in our society. We don't even know what limits are at this stage, correct? So I think that's really important, and I think the members of the Academy have been doing a great job. I think they would, I understand, from my understanding, they have not received the full funding as they should. And of course, for doing all of this work adequately and properly, you need to have the required funding. And this funding, as I say, comes from taxpayers, that if they receive back the feedback from the scientists of what they've contributed to this advancement of science, is absolutely necessary and should be a requirement, if anything. The other thing I should add on, though, is that it will be also important to bring in the foreign members of the Academy to participate in this process. You know, to talk about science at large with the broader community, and in interviews, talking to journalists. I think that's really very important. But of course, for that you have to have the means to bring them in. And one of the things I'd like to add that I think is really important is that when this academy was being formed, and in particular in the Copernican Congress, there was a lot of enthusiasm by the international community. Enthusiasm, support. I saw many colleagues and members there. I talked with all of them. So it will not be difficult. It will be really easy to bring, as I said, these foreign international members of the academy to talk to the community in Poland. In fact, that was the idea of the academy initially. It was internationalization and using the academy as a platform to bring in contact and communication, contact, if you want, scientists from everywhere with the broader community in Poland. Not just the students, the parents, the grandparents, bring it all together, because anything like science needs energy and needs to be understandable by people. First of all, currently there is no unlimited paths for research, right? Because all paths for research has to be funded. So, and of course the agencies for funding will look at the science or the work or proposals that they think will bring the most, or they think that has the best capability to actually achieve what they propose. So there are a few no, but there are several areas of research that the students can pursue. The most important thing to do, I think is really important, is for members of the academy to popularize those, to explain what these are. What are, and not only just the research areas, but the major questions of our time. So what are the major questions scientists are trying to answer? Because it's through knowing what we do not know that the students understand what they need then to learn, and to learn and to have the required tools to tackle those issues and to tackle those questions. Because if you don't know, if a student has his degree and then doesn't know exactly what are the major questions, he could start to work in something that is really a dead end. You don't want that for a young person. A young person, you want them basically to flourish. So you want them to work in areas that have a future, in the sense that it's not an area that we cannot do much more than what's done by now. At least with the data we have, with the observations we have, with the tools we have. But there are certain areas that we can make great advancements, and you should develop these tools, or you should learn these and these and these. So I think that's really important. If you want to go for cosmology, is it important not to have a very solid mathematical background, for example? But if you are going to do more observational astronomy cosmology, what are the tools that you do need actually to master? So I think what the members of the academy are, I believe, already doing, basically communicating with the students and senior students through these conferences, is letting them know, is making them aware of the science that's done in the world, but for me it's most important is what are the major questions? What are the questions scientists currently are trying to answer? There are a few that were already answered, but there are so many that we are working on yet. And why is that there is, for example, one thing I think is important is understanding what are the funding agencies funding and why? Why are they, for example, funding one area more than the other? Might be just historically speaking, because they funded for a long time that specific area, but not this one that's new. or because there are, I should say that there are also, in particular in the US, the so-called decadal survey recommendations. And these are a group of scientists that gather together, they discuss and talk about the several areas, and then they make recommendations to NASA, for example, or the federal government, about what the future should be. What should we be funding? What should we be working on?